Hey everybody, Max Rich here, and that's the beginning of Who Says by John Mayer. It's a really cool finger-picking, up-tempo, like country blues type of a song. And it's very finger-styly, if that's even a word. What I mean is it's very, it's not like a finger-style song that's adapted to guitar, where you play like a Beatles song and you're playing the melody plus the chords and all the rest of it. This is like made for guitar. And it's got some very cool ideas and very cool ways of dancing around chords and utilizing different bass notes and different patterns that change pretty quickly, as well as some cool hammer-on, or rather pull-off ideas that happen later on in the chorus. Right now, what you heard was the verse. But basically what I'll do is I'll go through the piece section by section and kind of explain how each measure is being played, how he's going about playing it, and what the most ideal fingering positions are, so that you can not only learn the song, but then hopefully take these ideas, because they're all really basic, like D chord, G chord, type of A chord, they're real simple. So you could take these ideas and you can kind of turn them potentially into your own song, or help adapt a song that's written by somebody else, and you can help adapt it to fingerstyle using these ideas. So don't just learn the song, but take the ideas out of the song and see if you can't sort of do something interesting and unique with those ideas on their own. So in any case, Who Says? Coming up right now. Okay guys, so we're starting at the top of the song, and it's got this, it's in D major, and it's got this very kind of like finger-picky style thing happening with alternating bass notes and then, outlining chords and stuff. So what I'll do is I'll play the verse, which is also the intro and the verse, the same thing. Actually, interestingly enough, the verse and the chorus are the same part. So you'll hear the verse, and then you'll do the chorus, and then there's a pre-chorus, and then, it's kind of an interesting arrangement. But all the parts are going to be in the lesson, so you should be able to piece it together pretty simply. But in any case, this is the verse or the chorus, however you want to look at it. So this is what it sounds like. Okay, so we're starting with basically like a D sus chord. So not a D major with our middle finger on the top string. We're kind of taking that off, so we're playing open, 2, 3, open. But we're not playing it that way. We're going... And we're playing the D octave together, so D string and B string together. And then the G string, 2nd fret, open 1st string. And then climb up D string, G string, B string. Like that. And then we leave our ring finger there, and the next measure we add our middle finger to the low G. And do that. So we're basically playing the D, B string 3rd fret, plus the low G 3rd fret. And then D and G strings open, keeping our ring finger there. Now I like to do this, I like to play it with my thumb, but I'm playing the 2nd fret of the low E string plus that D. And then I put my 1st finger on the G string 2nd fret and play that along with an open D. So it's... Basically, I'm outlining, it's basically a G chord and a D over F sharp, a D with an F sharp in the bass, but I'm playing the F sharp with my thumb. You don't have to, you can play it this way. I just prefer going from here instead of doing that. For me, it's easier to just go right? That's my personal preference, but it's like that. So we have and then the next part. Now the next part, we're still keeping our ring finger here in the same spot, and we're playing a low E bass note along with it, and then open G, and then that ring finger D. And then open E, E on the 2nd fret D string, and then open G. Like that. So we have and if you notice, the bass movement is really cool because it goes. It's basically G, D, E minor 7. And that ring finger is there for pretty much the whole song so far. And now we change. We're basically making an A chord, barring our 1st finger on the 2nd fret, leaving the A string open, and we're playing the A and B strings together, and then the 2 strings in between together, and then we're playing 1st fret A string, 2nd fret B string. Then we're playing. Then we're basically playing the 2nd fret D string plus the open G string. So like that, and that gives you a diminished chord. So it's so we have a. Then the next measure, we're basically making a B minor 7 chord. So we're barring the 2nd fret, everything but the 6th string, hitting the A and B strings together, and hammering on the B string onto the 3rd fret, and then G string, B string. And then we put our ring finger down on the 4th fret. So, I mean, you could start this way by starting with the whole B minor 7. I personally don't. I just don't want that ring finger, ringing unnecessarily. But you could start there. You could basically just make a B minor 7 chord and go. And then after this, you climb up from the 5th string, 4th, 3rd. And then we take our 1st finger and we're basically making an E major shape now. And we're playing a low E plus a G sharp, 1st fret, 3rd string. And then open D, open E. And then open E, G sharp, open B. So that's. So far, the whole thing is this. I'm sorry. And then we do this. Basically the G, and then the 2 inside notes, open D and G, and then A, and the 2 inside notes. And then the 1st bar repeats twice. that's the end of the verse. So coming out of the E, we have this. So the whole thing, the whole verse, chorus, whatever you want to call it, sounds like this. Right there. And so you'll notice as you're doing it that, I mean, this part is definitely is the easiest part of the song. The pre-chorus gets a little tougher. But you'll see that when you're playing it fast, you have to sort of anticipate and be able to hear the chord change coming. So what's going to help is being able to play just the chords. That type of a thing, right? And being able to play that at a faster tempo, you know, that'll help a lot. Being able to do that and be able to switch chords, because you're not, like I said, you're not doing a ton of stuff with your left hand. Most of the tricky stuff is happening in your right hand, although it's not tricky, it's just making sure you hit the right string, because you're not changing notes all that often. Maybe a bass note changes here or there, but for the verse and the chorus, it's relatively simplistic. Now moving on to the pre-chorus, that's where things change a little bit, so stick around. Okay, so now that we've got the verse and the chorus covered, the pre-chorus is where things kind of heat up a little bit, which is nice because the verse and the chorus surround the pre-chorus and are pretty, well, they're not mellow, but they're a little easier than this part. So what I'll do is I'll play through this, and then I'll break it down just like I did the last part. So here we go. Okay, so what's happening? We have a little, let me just adjust the sound for a second here. Okay. Okay, so we're starting with a G. Basically, we're still on that ring finger on the second string, 3rd fret, and we're playing the low G. Open D and open G, and then we do it again, but we play the low G, the B string, and then D and G together. So it's like that. And then we play the same chord that we did in the second measure of the verse, the D over F sharp. And it's the exact same pattern, except instead of this chord, it's this chord. So you could, once again, you could also play it like this. Right? I prefer not to, but that's me. Right? So I'm going. And then we go to an A chord. And so I'm playing the A chord, and I'm playing open A in the 2nd string, and then playing D string and G string, staggered, and then open A, and I add my middle finger now to the second string D. So. And then take it off and play underneath my bar on the 2nd fret, G string, B string. I'm doing. Now, what's happening here, I'm playing an open A, and then I'm staying on that A bar chord, but I'm pulling off from the 4th fret G string to the 2nd fret. But the thing is, when I pull off, right as I pluck that pull off, I'm pulling off and also simultaneously playing the B string 2nd fret. Like so. And right when I get to that pull off, I play that 2nd string. Like that. So it's. And then I play the D string on my 2nd fret, the open A, the B string, and then the 2 inside strings, D and G, together. So. Like that. So going back to the previous A chord, those are those 2 measures. So that's the first 4 measures of the pre-chorus sound like this. Let's just start that again. And then the first 2 measures repeat identically again. And the 3rd measure is now, starts the same way. We start with the open A and the 2nd string, and the 2nd string 2nd fret, and then the 2 inside strings underneath the bar, and then the low A. And now here's where things change. So now I'm pulling off from the 3rd to the 2nd on the B string, but just like I did before, once I pull off, I'm also hitting the D string that's underneath my bar. And then I'm playing the 4th fret on the G string, like that. After that, I'm playing open A and 3rd string 2nd fret, and then I'm just climbing up my bar. D string, G string, B string, back to low A, and then I put my middle finger back on this D on the 3rd fret 2nd string, play that along with the G string 2nd fret. And then I drop down to the next 2 strings, D and G, both underneath my bar. So that's like that. So those 2 A measures sound like this. One more time. Right there. So far the whole thing. And then the first 2 measures repeat again. go to this diminished chord shape that we did before. A string 1, and then 2, open 2, and we go. So now we're playing the 2 outside strings, the A string and the B string, and then the 2 inside ones together. And then the B string after that. And then we climb up A string, D string, G string. Like that. And then, I'm sorry. So now we're barring the 2nd fret again, including the A string, because we're playing basically our B minor 7 chord. So now we're playing the A string and B string together, hammering onto the 3rd fret with our middle finger of the B string. And then G string, E string. And then A string, G string, D string. D string with the 4th fret on the with our ring finger there. So and so that series sounds like this. And then we leave our middle finger there. And we play that along with open E, low E, and then we put our 1st finger on E, 2nd fret, 4th string, and we basically climb up E, to, that 1st finger to open G, and then we can play all 4 notes, so open E, and then 4th string, 3rd, 2nd string, back and forth. So that's so we basically do this, and then we climb up that arpeggio 2 times. And then do it a 3rd time and leave out the last note. So it's and then finally we go and finish the pre-chorus that way. So now we're playing A chord and then adding our middle finger to make an A sus chord, and then we lift up so that we get a hinge bar, and we're playing open, 2, 2, 3, open. And that's how the pre-chorus ends. So it's this. And that's basically the pre-chorus. So if you notice that the first 2 bars repeat all 4 of those times. And so I'll play the whole thing now. Keep that in mind that those repeat. And there you have the pre-chorus. And so it's fast, right? It's you know, it's not slow like that. But I want you to start slow and build up speed real gradually. Like I said in the beginning, play the chord shapes and see if you can't change the chord shapes at a fast tempo. And then slow that tempo down by like a third and see, or even half, and see if you can't do the actual the notes that are written, the arpeggios as they're played. And if it's still too fast, slow it down even farther, and don't practice more than one measure at a time. I know the instinct is going to be like, oh, let me just play to the end of the pre-chorus, or play to 4 measures, or don't. Just make sure you get one measure, super solid, and get that thing down so that you can play it in your sleep. And then move to the second measure and do the same thing, so that by the time you're done, you don't have to go back and relearn everything and re-practice it and say like, okay, well, I've practiced it all kind of halfway, now I have to actually sit down and really practice it in order to get it, because this is not something that's just going to fall into place. You have to be really focused in your practice. So make sure you do that, and then we'll go to the outro right now. Okay, everybody, so we've got basically every part of the song covered. The only part that's left is the outro, and the outro follows the same vein as all the others, but with a few different tweaks here and there. So let me play it, and then I'll break it down for you. So this is the outro. Okay, short and sweet. And basically what we're doing, once again, starting the same way, well, starting a similar way at least, starting the same way as the pre-chorus, with the G and then 2 open strings, D and G. Except now, after that, we play a low G again, and 2 open Ds. So, next measure, so we're making that A sus chord, barring the 2nd fret for our A, and then adding our middle finger to the D on the B string, and playing just those 2 notes, A and D, and then the inside strings, and then playing open A and G string and B string together, and then the D string. So that's like that. And after that, we do the same idea that we did in the first measure, but over a D chord. So now we're playing a D chord without the 1st string, and we're playing the open D plus the 3rd fret D, and then G string, B string, and then open D and 2 G strings. Like that. So we have and then we have basically the G and the D again, with the open strings in between, and then the D over F sharp, where we're now playing 2nd fret F sharp, and then the D with our ring finger here, and then we make the D chord like without the 1st string, and then we're playing all 3 of those strings, D, G, and B strings. Like that, so. Like that. And then after that we go. So we're still in this D chord shape, and we're playing the open D plus the 3rd fret, and then 2nd fret G, open E. Open D, F sharp, we add our middle finger now to complete the D chord. And then 2nd fret G, 3rd fret B. So that's like that. And then we keep everything there. We can get rid of our middle finger, and then I'm putting my thumb over here to get the low G, and I just climb up low G, and then open D, 2nd fret G, 3rd fret B. So that's, and then I drop my thumb down for the 2nd fret, then do the same thing, but I stop. I don't hit the last note. So the first one is, the second one is like that. And so that's, and then the final two measures are, now this one, still with that D shape, or you can even add your middle finger back to it, but we're putting our pinky now on the high E string, 3rd fret, and we're playing the open D and 3rd fret D, that's on the B string, and then G string, E string, and then E string is the 3rd fret with our pinky. And then open D, and we take our pinky off and play the 2nd fret high E. So that's, and then finish on the G string 2nd fret. Like that. And then we go back to where I'm playing my thumb on the low G and the D, but then I'm playing open D and 2nd fret A on the G string. So, and then I drop my thumb down and do the same thing. So it's, you can also go, but I prefer not to have to do that change when I can just go. And then we finish by playing a D chord. So real slowly back to the top of the outro. And there you have it. So, like I was saying, there's so many similarities between each part that it really takes intense focus to make sure that you're not pulling one measure from the outro and playing it in the pre-chorus or somewhere else, you know, mixing them up like this, because they're all really similar. There's only a few chords in the song, and so it's easy to get it mixed up. So what I want you to do is, like I said, take each measure one by one, ultra slowly. Make sure you can play it with a metronome at a slow tempo, because that's very, very, very important. Right? And then gradually work your way up, and make sure that when you're playing, that your right hand, it's very important your right hand doesn't get tense and like in some weird shape. It has to be relaxed. And a good sign of having a relaxed hand is your pinky. If your pinky is like curled way inward like this or something, like, you know, you don't want that, right? That means there's a lot of tension in your hand, probably in your forearm, probably even in your shoulder. But if you have a loose, if you're able to play and have your pinky hanging loose and just relaxed, that's really good. You don't want your pinky sticking way out like this, because that's also using muscle, and that muscle being used is tense, and creating tension and the opposite of relaxation in your hand and wrist and arm and everything else. So you want to play with as neutral and as relaxed of a position as possible, and that'll really help you get things up to speed, but you have to keep that in mind while you're practicing. So if you notice that you're tense, you should always kind of keep that in the back of your mind, like, am I tense, am I tense, am I tense? And then when you do notice you're tense, stop playing immediately. Even if you're like, oh, I'm almost at the end of the song, let me just fight through it. Don't, because that can, number one, injure you, and number two, you're just reinforcing a bad habit of playing tense and playing in a tense position. You don't want that. You want to play in a relaxed position, so you have to build in good habits by stopping and make sure you're, as often as possible, playing relaxed. And so that's sort of the key to building a song like this and getting it up to speed playing fingerstyle. So enjoy it and have a good time.